Creative babble.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent, savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pâté. Fancy Feast Gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in one convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast Gems.
The history of now really is about life. It's about human behavior. That's really what it is in its essence.
That's Jason Bartlett talking about his play, The History of Now, with Andrea Endres on her YouTube show.
If you ask anyone what life is, the answer is going to be based on their perception, their experience. And that's what we've tried to kind of encompass with The History of Now.
The History of Now, how poetic, right? Could it be about how present-day political events are shaping history in real time? Or ordinary people caught in extraordinary times, showing how their choices ripple into the future? Well, it's none of the above. One poster I found online said, quote, "When 4 friends are lost in the silence of the Holocaust, their stories echo a warning behind the familiar stranger we call the present." Unquote. Still don't get it? In The History of Now, Jason Bartlett doesn't just blur the line between past and present, he demolishes it. What begins as a historical reflection on one woman's experience during the Holocaust quickly evolves into something far more urgent, a mirror held up to modern America. It follows a Holocaust survivor who, after decades of silence, is finally ready to tell her story. And as she recalls her childhood in Berlin, her memories are intercut with scenes from present-day America, where Roe versus Wade is overturned, the Capitol is being attacked, and the foundations of democracy feel increasingly unstable. Jason Bartlett started working on this show around the same time that he wiggled his way into the life of Melanie, a North Carolina woman in her 50s living with a Parkinson's-like disease. He even told people that she was the reason this play was even happening.
And she was a big influence on this project and a big influence on me. And then unfortunately, 3 years ago, Melanie passed away. So, she made me promise that I would carry on with this project, The History of Now. And that's what I'm doing.
He conveniently skips over the part where he named himself executor of Melanie's estate, drained her bank account, left her children with nothing, and then moved in with Melanie's mother in Connecticut. It was presumably while living there that Jason Bartlett began casting for the play that he claims was, quote, in honor of Melanie. But his methods as a writer and director were a little unusual. Most actors who responded sensed something wasn't right. Still, it was 2020, the height of the pandemic, and theater work was scarce. One of the actors was a guy named Alec.
He just posted an audition for something that sounded really interesting. It was a play called History of Now. It was exploring the Holocaust, and he said it was really significant to him. And because of his wife, which that's a whole other story, he said it was like his wife's dying wish. It was very dramatic. It was his wife's dying wish that he produced this lifelong passion of his. I don't think he had any relatives who died in the Holocaust. He wasn't Jewish. And he offered me like a day or two later the role, which I think at the time I had a couple other auditions that were much larger but more commercial. So I went with like my gut feeling about it. And I think it was the wrong choice because there was no pay. It's just I believed in the project.
So there was never any pay?
No. So, which is kind of sometimes common with really groundling projects before you get a producer. And I was brand new to New York at the time. So it was like, I was just happy to be doing anything. We had like some Zoom reading sessions, a couple in-person sessions when he could find the money to rent a space or convince a space to give him some sort of discount. But months turned into a year.
Yeah, you were not going to wait around for this guy, right? Because it was month after month after month of not hearing anything.
Yeah, it was just kind of being left in limbo. We were promised pay once we got to a selling ticket kind of like realm. And it was pretty decent too. But initially I thought, I'm like, okay, this will be 6 months before this happens, and then I'll start getting paid.
But months went by, and the play never came. It would be years before the show would ever see the spotlight of the stage. And that was in spite of Jason Bartlett. What's even more interesting is that the play's opening night seemed to be the last time anyone ever saw Jason Bartlett in person. So we'll follow this theatrical adventure and ask ourselves, where and who is Jason Bartlett now? I'm Javier Leiva, and this is Pretend. Stories about real people pretending to be someone else.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Empower. Tim collects bobbleheads. A lot of bobbleheads. Baseball bobbleheads. Race car bobbleheads. Little chihuahua bobbleheads. He's got an entire room strictly for bobbleheads. Does he need them? No. Is his wife mad about it? A little. But Tim works with Empower, and he got good at money, so he can be a little bad. Ooh, horse bobblehead. Classy, Tim. Empower. Invest well, live a little. Start today at empower.com.
So he was this British guy, and he acted like he was a very big name in England. Looked him up, did a lot of my own research. I mean, the internet, you can find out anything. He wasn't. Unknown producer, unknown show, no names leading it.
Alec the actor seemed to have dropped off the play The History of Now production without much hostility from Jason Bartlett. But other actors weren't so lucky. This is Samantha and her experience.
He posted a listing on an audition platform called Backstage, like right during the pandemic. So actor, had no work. I was like, okay, this play sounds kind of interesting. I'll audition. The audition was the strangest audition I've had. It like took forever. He, was like just so interested in every little thing. Auditions are 10, 15 minutes usually, like not hours. So I was like, okay, this is weird.
Samantha said that the red flags continued when people were dropping from the production left and right. Plus, she was a member of the Actors' Equity, which is a union representing those who work in live theatrical performances. So Samantha was trying to keep Bartlett and the production honest.
He was in talks of like doing a stage production as soon as we were able to meet in person and start getting into the rehearsal room. So I sent an email and was like, hey man, like I, as a union member, can't touch a rehearsal room until I have a contract and payment agreements, and you have to talk to my agents. Like there's stuff that has to happen. Like right now I'm happy to workshop it with you, but because I got nothing else going on. But like, after that, I can't do this.
By the beginning of 2021, Bartlett was still meeting with his cast and crew virtually while he searched for funding.
that's when he was like, so I notice you're a producer. Like, can you help fundraise and do some like research on contracts? And I was like, okay, I'm a producer in the sense that I like publicly fundraise. I don't give money to things. So I think he was coming after me for money. And I was like, I can send you my research in terms of like what platforms are successful, but I don't have the funds to do something like that. And then I get an email saying like, here's this woman who's now going to produce it and fund it. And she came out of nowhere.
The mystery person was Christiana, and she seemed to be the main target of his new theatrical scheme. This is her side of the story.
I saw him online, and he said some things that really resounded with me in a good way, because I'm kind of like I have a humanitarian heart, and I always want to do as much good as I can. So, and some of the things he posted, I commented on. Next thing I know, he reached out. I told him about my background in radio back in my country. And he asked me if I can read a script he had. And it was The History of Now. I literally fell in love with that script because it did my heart good to get involved in something like this. I started editing and sending it back to him. And then before I know it, he asked me to come up to New York and meet the cast.
But at the time you were in Georgia?
I am in Georgia still. I'm in Georgia. I used to live in Manhattan, but I'm in not Manhattan, on Long Island.
So you went to New York?
Yes. Yeah. I went to New York to meet with him.
And did you pay for your travels?
Well, I am an idiot. I'm sorry to call myself an idiot, but when I look back on all of that, my trusting nature turned me into a total idiot. It was all promises. Just give me the bill at the end of and I stayed, my son booked a hotel for me, and I stayed in the hotel, and we met with him, and he introduced me to the cast, and I hit it off with the cast members. And I think that time I stayed about a week or 2 weeks in Manhattan and went to rehearsals.
Did you pay for 2 weeks of hotel?
I paid. And that was the first visit. There were other visits.
How much was that?
I can't even remember. It was a lot.
When Christiana went back to Georgia after that trip, she got to work looking for rehearsal and performance spaces for Jason Bartlett's play. She sent him photos of spaces that she was scouting, and Jason Bartlett, in turn, gave her a sort of a promotion, I guess.
Your title has just been changed to production manager. Okay, I didn't think anything of it. I was already scouting for locations and what.
Have you ever done production management?
No, I had only done radio in Trinidad.
So why you? Why would he pick somebody out of Georgia instead of somebody in New York where there's so many theater people?
Because I think he saw my ability, and he saw that I was a very trusting person, a pushover. At least that's what he thought, that I was a pushover.
Christiana was sold on the play The History of Now. So much so that she started asking friends and family for donations. In the meantime, Samantha had caught on to Jason Bartlett's BS and put her foot down.
He was like asking for way more involvement from me, like helping with calendars and things like that. And I was like, Kay, I can't do anything further for you until compensation is discussed and received, because I'm not, I don't work for free. And then he started getting all snippy with me, and then eventually I called him out and I was like, you have no plans of putting this legitimately in front of a union, to do this correctly. And I can't do it. So I have to back out. And, I received a not nicely worded email about how, my time and his time had been wasted and all this bullshit. But I was like, you're the one who wasted my time.
And he would continue wasting a lot of people's time. Jason Bartlett had fully sold Christiana on his vision for his play. She was so invested that she even started handling the legal aspects of the production.
When he sent the paperwork to me to get some things done at LegalZoom, my son and I took a look at the paperwork, and we realized that he had nothing. He really had nothing. No EIN number, nothing. He was selling these young people, these cast members, a whole load of you-know-what.
When Christiana came into the picture, Some of the cast were 2 or 3 years into paying out of their own pocket for this production, with promises that one day they'll be paid or reimbursed. She felt it was up to her to fix these legal issues and get things up and running.
One of my friends, an older lady, she said, you know what? Use my name and tax ID and whatever. She said, you know, I'm an old lady. She'll be 86 this year. She said, I'm an old person. I don't mind. So she offered, and he grabbed at that, and he asked me if I can get it. I called LegalZoom, and I got everything taken care of. I got the EIN number under her name with the intentions of him taking everything off her plate and eventually putting everything under his name.
You can probably already guess that didn't happen. Jason Bartlett had a goal of having his play premiere all over the United States. At least that's what he told Christiana. So obviously the next stop was Texas.
I was trusting this guy. I was trusting him like a child. And that's what I could slap myself for. I went down there. I stayed too long, and my kids were getting frantic because I stayed 5 weeks. And I got like the governor and different people in different departments in Texas and different towns to look into donations and how we could get government funded programs that will offer us donations. And I looked for theaters down in Texas. I got some theaters where I had the play signed up there.
And why Texas?
Because we wanted it. He said he wanted it in as many places as possible.
Okay.
So, okay, I did it. I got him signed up in a few good theaters. And I still know a lady of quite a few people. And this lady and I remain friends. She has her own promotion company. And she knows quite a bit of famous people. And she took me to one of her friends who owned a club. And I went there and I spoke to them, and they were all interested in it. And I was literally selling this play everywhere I went.
And did you pay for that out of pocket as well?
He started paying. I didn't know I was supposed to reimburse him. He said the company would pay for it. The first thing I did was I had to pull out like $400 to pay for groceries and everything else. And then I started seeing some kind of stupid behavior from him, really egotistical behavior. And at that time, the case with Melanie, he was fighting them in court for the inheritance.
Remember Melanie, the woman he moved in with who died of a Parkinson's-like disease?
So he would stay in the room and on the phone with the attorneys and whatnot.
And what did you know about that case? What did he tell you about Melanie?
He behaved like a guy who was so in love. He would do anything for Melanie. And her children didn't care about her. He was the one who took care of her. And now that she's passed and she put everything under his name and he is inheriting everything, they're angry and they took him to court to get what they can. Although she never wanted them to have anything. She wanted him to have everything. And then I found out later on, he had taken her while she was very ill, totally out of it. And he had her sign everything over to him, even the storage units.
We'll get into the storage unit later, but during this trip to Texas, Jason Bartlett didn't exactly display the caretaker traits that he claimed to have.
I fell in the bathtub, cracked 2 ribs. I did not get any help with my luggage from this guy. Nothing. I had to lug everything myself. And while we were in Texas, I saw some kind of stupid behavior from him when we would go downstairs to have meals. So I stayed in a separate room. I didn't know I was supposed to pay for the room. Then he started to leave me alone and go about his business, and it would be lunchtime or dinner time, and he wouldn't show up. By that time, I had absolutely not a penny on me, Javier. I had no money. I didn't know where I was in Texas. And I had nothing in the bank anymore because from paying those 2 or 3 trips to Manhattan, then paying in Texas, I had not a penny on me left. When we were coming back, I was coming back to Georgia. He was going back to Connecticut. I thought this guy would pay for my train fare because I paid for my train fare to go down. Again, I'll reimburse you. Just pay for it. Okay. I paid for my train fare, but I couldn't afford first class, business class, anything. So I paid for coach. Nothing wrong with that. He paid, he went into business class, and we had to stop in Louisiana, in New Orleans. We stopped there, waited for the next train. It was an overnight thing. Mr. went into, there is a nice room where people who are in first class or business class can go and lay on a couch and relax and get served food and whatnot. And I'm sitting on a cold, hard bench in the open area. So I'm sitting there. He said, I tried to get you in that room there, but I couldn't because they're not allowing people who are in coach in that room. So he came back out at one point in the night, and we're sitting there talking.
At this point, things got weirder. When they first got to Texas, Christiana had opened up to Jason Bartlett. She told him that while they were there, a man had touched her inappropriately, and it brought up a lot of old trauma that she had tried to bury.
And then, when I told him about some of the things that had happened to me when I was younger, he looked me dead in the eyes and he said, Christiana, look at me. Look at me. When I looked at him, he said, I am a child of rape. He said, my mother had me due to a rape that occurred to her.
Hang on. When Christiana tells me this, I remember something Emma told me about Jason Bartlett's parents.
He came up with this amazing story about how his mother and father met. Basically, his father was based out, I think it was Army, I'm not sure, in Banff in Canada. And she was being attacked by somebody, apparently this guy was trying to sexually assault the woman. Anyway, his dad saw this, and he's dressed in his army stuff, and he went over and beat this guy up. And then they fell madly in love. And then she got a boat out from Canada to Liverpool, and apparently it was one of 5 boats, and they were the only boat. She was on the only boat that wasn't torpedoed. And she arrived in England, and apparently that's the story.
So yeah, maybe both things are true, or maybe he's just telling anybody what they want to hear. But either way, the story sounds far-fetched. And we'll dive deeper into Jason Bartlett's family later. But let's get back to Christiana.
I don't know how I did it. I got one guy on the train to donate $100. Another train trip, I got a lady, she zelled $500 because I was passionate about the play.
Wait,
and I think
you were still raising money for his play even while sitting in coach?
I was still raising money. That's what I tell you. It was the play. It was all about this play for me and the script because it meant so much to me. And when I met with all the cast members, they were so eager about it. I felt like it was my duty to not let them down.
And that loyalty to the cast was something that Jason Bartlett also used against her.
If I would talk to anybody nicely in the cast, are you looking to win the nice person award or something like that? No, because that's who I am. And a couple of times I had to say exactly what he wanted me to say to some of the cast members. But by then they had already, most of them knew who I was. And they said that didn't come from Christiana, that came from Jason. It was weeks and months of me working day and night to get this play together. And just when you got it together, he would change something in the play because by then we had found out that it was plagiarized.
Wait, the play was plagiarized?
This is something I heard from more than one person, so I had to look into it. The claim is that Jason Bartlett ripped his play straight from a documentary, but no one could remember the name of the documentary. One actress said that she was able to recite her lines along with the show, but when I looked into it, the play seems to be more derivative than plagiarized. He used direct quotes from historical documents like the Gettysburg Address and kind of copied scenes from other plays or stories about the Holocaust, but I don't have any concrete proof that it was plagiarized.
I just couldn't let him hurt these young people. I couldn't let him hurt the cast members because they were looking to me now. All the people I have brought in for donations, they were looking to me. And if anything happens, who are they going to blame? It's me.
People continued coming on board and dropping out. Funding seemed to flow in and out, and a lot of promises were made. by March 2023, an actress named Marla joined the cast. And she's one of the only people I talked to who was in the one and only production of this play, The History of Now.
He saw me on Backstage and he invited me to apply for a role of the lead in this play. So I applied, and within moments, he called me. And we spoke on the phone like 2 hours, and he sent me the script, which was like 130 pages. He sent me the script, I printed it, I read it. And the next day he texted me, well, what do you think? And I called him and I said, well, I'm thinking about it. And if I do audition and you know, and he said, no, hold it right there. You're not auditioning. I'm offering you the role. And of course, at the time, I knew it was a red flag, but I didn't want to know it was a red flag. He started buttering me up. I like your picture. I like this. And I fell for it because all I did was want to act. I played a 97-year-old Holocaust survivor, which now when I think about it and he says he likes my picture, I'm thinking, did you think I look like a 97-year-old Holocaust survivor?
Bartlett told the cast that he and Christiana had booked the Schubert Theater in New Haven, Connecticut.
I got contracts signed. I got everything signed. They told him that he was supposed to pay $5,000 down on the nights he wanted to perform and whatnot. And in the meantime, the same friend I got the EIN number from and whatnot loaned me, she loaned Jason $4,000. $4,000.
The Schubert Theater, for reference, holds 1,200 people. Here's Alec again.
I don't know if you know plays that well, but like that's outside of living in London like I do now, you cannot sell 1,200 seats for a play. I'm like, that's not a thing.
With an unknown producer, director.
Unknown producer, unknown show, no names leading it. Like for giving an example, like there's a show going on in London right now at a 250-seat theater with Adrian Brody leading it, and they still need to sell tickets for it. And he's has it
and we all know his name.
In the meantime, we left my son's credit card at Open Jazz Studios.
This is the studio they use for rehearsals.
He was paying from Open Jazz Studios from my son's credit card. We thought we were just leaving it there so, they have a credit card on file. He was supposed to leave his credit card, but he said, you know what? Right now, I'm switching company. Some stupid story, and we believed him.
And with 10 days before the show, rumors began swirling that the show had only sold about 40 tickets.
He couldn't fill that theater. And by then, I had sent a little email to him telling him I'm no longer associated with this. I quit, and I mentioned Joanne's name.
Joanna is the friend whose name was on the business and who donated $4,000 to Jason Bartlett so he could secure the Schubert Theater.
Then he realized that I was still speaking to Joanne. We are still friends, and I know that he lied to her. Joanne called him. She said she wanted her $4,000 back. This guy had the nerve to send a message to Joanne saying, you never loaned me any money. If you loaned it to a third party, go to that person for it.
You?
Yes. And this is after he had spoken to this lady like 12 times and thanked her over and over for what she had done for him. And he left me holding the bag.
Did he ever pay you anything?
Nothing.
Wow.
I got nothing. My son got nothing.
Christiana was out. Their funding was gone. There were 10 days to showtime, and now they had to change the venue. And when you change a venue for a show, the cast and crew are traditionally issued new contracts. Here's Marla again.
And I find out that Jason had a tantrum that day because somehow he found out that people were questioning him about the contract. He yelled and screamed, and some of the people left the production, some of the actors.
And let's just say tensions continued to rise.
The play was June 17th, 23. It was a Saturday night. And the rehearsals were the week before, Monday through Friday, from 10 to 6 at Hunter College. every day. There was only like 2 or 3 in these studios. All this is $300, which none of us got anyway. The first rehearsal at Hunter College, everybody's kind of just hanging out. Everyone's bullshitting. People are eating. People are running out and getting food. And we're like, when are we going to rehearse? Tuesday, early in the morning, the next day, everybody gets this email from one of the production people. And it's kind of nasty. It takes time to organize the rehearsal schedule. So that Tuesday morning, we're waiting for the rehearsal to start.
That's when Marla says that one of the crew members announced that Jason Bartlett was going to come in and talk to everyone.
Jason comes back in the room and slams the door shut. And he very quietly and says, you know, I don't need friends. I'm not here to have friends. I'm here to put on a performance. He whips out his wallet and throws it on the table and says, I have nothing left because of this production. This production has eaten me up. He slams his hand on the desk and says, but when someone starts being disrespectful to my production team, and he's screaming on the top of his lungs about people being disrespectful to his production. Meanwhile, we were wonderful with his production team, and the production team was wonderful with us. He said, this is going to be take it or leave it. And he starts to walk out, and I said, could you explain to me who was disrespectful to who? And he said, I'm not taking any questions. And that was the last time Jason showed up for a rehearsal.
The cast and crew were in total shock. Marla thinks that this is the moment where Jason Bartlett expected the whole production to just fall apart, and that he would be off the hook for any of the payments.
Why do you think, if you're right, and his intention was never to put on this play, but to collect the money for the play, why do you think that play actually went on, moved forward?
Because the production team, because he threw his tantrum, he left. I think he expected people to leave. I think he expected people to walk out.
But he had the venue.
He had the venue, but I think he never expected to even pay for the venue. He expected to pay for nothing. He expected to get backing from people, like he did with his friend of Christiana's, and other backing. I think he didn't expect the play to go on. I think he expected people to drop out and say, oh, well, we can't do it now.
But the show must go on.
But the production team was a strong group of young people, and they were smart, and they said, we're putting the play on. And I remember Wednesday, the day after his Tuesday morning tantrum, Wednesday at the end of the rehearsal, we all congregated, and this woman named Tabitha, she said, I just want to let everybody know that Jason will not be coming back, and he will not be coming back for the rest of the week to the rehearsals. We'll do the best we can, which was better than if he was there, because when he was there, we did nothing. And she said, Saturday night, the play will go on. I'm going to give new contracts. And she did give us new contracts that stated that we were now going to be performing in the Soho Playhouse. And she said, I don't know if Jason will be there Saturday night. If he's there, he's there. If he's not, he's not. I think their attitude was, everybody has been working on this play, and we're just going to do it.
Meanwhile, you'd think with her quitting that Christiana would wash her hands from Jason Bartlett and just move on. Well, think again.
He kept calling me, Christiana, I don't have food to eat. I have nothing. My pants are literally falling off me. Where's the money you owe me for paying for dinners for you in Texas and whatnot? And he hounded me night and day for money. I got so upset because by then I was getting panic attacks. I was getting the shakes. I couldn't even start a conversation without sometimes breaking down. Because I'm telling you, it sounds very simple, my relaying it to you, but it was 200 times worse than what I'm telling you. To live it, it is horrible. He kept hounding me for that money. I didn't know what to do. I called my son. I said, how much money do we have left? He said, he said, between you and I, we have like about $1,000. I said, take $600 and just send it to Jason for me, please, because he's driving me crazy. I said, I am going to go crazy. Night and day, he's calling me and telling me he has no food to eat, and it's because of me. And so I had my son sell him $600. I hate myself now for doing when I talk about it. But under the kind of pressure I was under, that was nothing for me to do, just for a little peace of mind. I think what hurts the most is how I was left feeling about who I am, because I was a very private person, introvert. I never thought that, my trusting nature, I would have to go through this, because I feel torn up. I feel like I can't trust anymore. And I went from my sister told me one time I trusted like a child. I went from that to not being able to trust even your phone number when it came up. Javier, you will never get the true extent of how disgusting this man was.
The next time Marla saw Jason Bartlett was the night of the play at the Soho Playhouse in Manhattan. He showed up, bragged about the work, and no one that I've spoken to has seen him ever again. While we were talking, Marla started reflecting on her interactions with Jason Bartlett.
The length of time that I spent with him, like I said, it was 3 weeks, 3 months.
But it left an impression for sure.
I feel bad, like when I complain, because compared to Christiana and these other people, I didn't lose money or anything, but it fucked me up a little bit. It really did mess with my head, because I felt like a fraudulent,
you feel like a fool, right? Like you felt like, yeah. And that's the thing with a lot of, like you said, a lot of people who find themselves in this situation would rather it just go away because it's painful. They feel ashamed, or they feel like they can't do anything about it. But once they start hearing all these stories, like I've interviewed, I was looking to see how many people I've interviewed so far about this, and it's like 5 different people. When they start listening to all these people saying the same thing, they become empowered. And
yes, unity. Like, it's unity. Right. Mm-hmm. In unity, there is strength.
That's the strength that's going on in the story. Women, families, the artists have connected, putting the pieces together and feeling empowered to do something to stop Jason Bartlett's scheming and conning. Next time on Pretend, in part 3 of the Playwright, I'm going to look for Jason Bartlett. I've been following this guy for 3 years and lost his trail. I seriously have no idea if I will find him or not as of this recording, but I'm going to give it a good college try. That's next time on Pretend. Today's episode was written and produced by me and Mackenzie Ames. It was edited by the talented Puneeth Shenoy with the Podcast Pundits. Our theme music was written and composed by thechicken.net. As always, you could listen to early and ad-free episodes on Patreon or Pretend Plus on Apple Podcasts. If you can't support the show monetarily, the best thing you could do is to text a friend right now and tell them all about Jason Bartlett and this Playwright crazy series that you're listening to. That honestly goes a long way. You could always find me on social media at PretendPod. Send me a message, send me a story idea. I love hearing from you guys. Until next time, take care.
Creative Babble.